welcome to Shrink Wrap. Today's episode is going to be an exciting one about work in the second phase of life. The title of the show today is The Career Playbook, and I'm delighted to have Dr. Dorian Mincer and Dr. Jan Hively here today, both really good representatives of this second phase change in the 21st century. So I want to acknowledge that my co-host Edna Lazat is not here with us today and will be back. And a little about me and the work that I do as an executive coach around money, transitions. Dorian and I know each other from that work, the money work that we share and the transitions work. And today I had the opportunity before the show to meet with you, Jan, and learn some things that seem pretty exciting. I was going to do a little bit of a, laudatory introduction to the both of you, but I think it might be wiser for us to take a minute for you to say something, each of you, about yourselves in this work, and then to launch into how the Career Playbook got what would we say, developed, written,
produced.
Produced, thanks. All right, so good segue.
Okay.
Go for it, Dory. So, you okay just saying a little bit about yourself? And
yeah, I'm basically a retirement transition expert coach and do life planning as well as helping people really navigate the second half of life, both individuals and couples. And I do speaking, workshops, and I'm an author and also a member of author
you
of
can
a
talk,
book.
and I'll
Okay.
hold up your book.
Yeah, The Couples Retirement Puzzle: 10 Must-Have Conversations for Creating an Amazing New Life Together. The book actually was written in 2011, and my co-author and I self-published, and then it just recently got picked up by a publisher.
Congratulations.
And thank you, and it's been kind of brought up to date and a new resource section, and it just came out in August. So.
That's really exciting.
Yeah, so
and I want to be sure, Jan, that we get to you. I want to say one quick thing. It was very exciting for me this weekend to see Michelle Singletary, the great financial expert,
nice.
touting your book and saying that she herself benefited and that she was able to relax even more when she found out that her pension was going to be changed because she'd read your book. So
wonderful.
Kudos to you.
Thank you. That was so wonderful.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
appreciative.
Washington
Yeah.
Post and all the other syndicated columns, there it is.
Right.
So congratulations.
So,
Dory.
thank you. Thank you.
And Jan, a little bit about you.
Networking is a big part of my life, and I think that what you're describing just now fits with that, because the more that each of us can get connected with other people and ideas, the more easy it is to shape our own lives. I am what's called an encore entrepreneur. Encore meaning I'm well into the second half of life. I'm actually 82, and I'm still working. But I'm also...
So we should stop. If this were like an audience, there'd be like a standing ovation right now, right?
Hardly. No, it's going to be it's the coming thing.
Well, I'm hoping to be you at 82, so yeah, keep going.
Or at 92 or
All right.
whatever.
Better yet.
The largest single cohort is the 10-year, is those percentage-wise is people over at the age of 85. So it's going.
Seriously?
Yes, yes, it's
Wow.
growing so quickly.
Wow. All right, let me keep not interrupting you.
Anyway, the entrepreneur part is that for the last 14, 15 years now, I've been starting networks to support positive aging. And it's because of the fact that I had come out of a background in city planning and schools administration, city administration, but I'd been very interested in the meaning of work, thinking about work. What is it? It's not just employment. It's productivity that benefits you or your family or community, and you learn the work skills and habits and attitudes everywhere, whether you're young or old. You're learning daily because you're learning it through parenting, which is certainly a big piece of productivity, volunteering, teaching, learning. We're all teachers and learners all our lives. The main thing is that my thesis for my PhD work, which I completed at the age of 69, transformed me because it was about productive aging in rural communities in the state that I lived in, Minnesota. And what I found was that there was extraordinary productivity, particularly in towns where there was often a majority of the citizens as older adults in rural communities where youth had left and never come back. And they were doing all of the jobs, the county. They were county commissioners in their late 80s. And I felt that as a result of that, that it was important to really raise awareness about the important productivity of older adults that contributes to our economic benefit, whether it's volunteering or caregiving or caring for grandchildren. All of those things, paid or unpaid, count. And older adults are increasingly going to need to provide for themselves as we go through this economy and this rapidly aging society. So coming back to the work that we do together as members of the Life Planning Network and as life coaches, we definitely want to emphasize the fact that all of us need to be thinking about matching our skills and interests to opportunities that fit with the economic need, social need, and that really give us sustenance.
Well, you're saying something so important, because whether it's money that we need, or it's meaning that we need, many people, you know this better than I, retire in that full to stop and feel empty, feel like life does not have much of interest, sometimes even when there's enough money. Many of the people I work with have sufficient means, and what they don't have is sufficient meaning. I've never thought of that before.
Men, I think particularly, because so often I hear, work was my life, and now I have no life.
And what I'm discovering too, I think you're right about men, and more women for whom their career mattered feel also like they may have, in the stereotypic sense, more social networks and more options, and still they're hungry for something to sink their teeth into.
So, well, tied into that, I mean, just to comment on it, in positive psychology, well-being has these three components, which is connection, engagement, and purpose and meaning. And so if you think about it, work generally provides that for people. And what I find in my work is that people don't think about what work provided for them and what they're going to do in retirement or in this retirement transition, and don't consider the engagement, connection, and purpose and meaning. That's when they spiral downhill. And that's part of what has led to this interest in trying to help people think about different ways to work.
So I'm tempted to tell you, something about an article I was just asked to write about exactly that, the emotional aspects of the retirement transition. And as I'm writing it, it's very much akin to what you're describing, Dory, about that we think about the things like, oh, I won't have to sit through those boring meetings, or I won't have to drive in the snow, or I won't have to this, I won't have to that.
Office politics.
The office politics, exactly, exactly. I actually have that in my, that's funny. And, but we forget about the fact that we love working with a team, that it feels sustaining and interesting, and we actually do well with a certain routine, and
and of
those
course,
kinds of things.
Usually older adults want to work less as far as time is concerned, and they want more flexibility, and what's happening in the workplace fits perfectly, because we're moving much more to contractual employment, to part-time, temporary, etc., as we talk about in this career playbook.
Well, and I'm really glad you brought it back to the career playbook, because I was just thinking that the title of our show is probably a good idea for us to talk about that, as well as the stories of the people who are in the career playbook are all stories of people who have figured out how to put together work that has meaning to them. So in the overview, can we talk about the career playbook, how it came about and what it is? I could read something, but maybe it would be better to hear it in your words, and how people access it, because it's a free it's a free resource.
It's a free ebook. And really the idea for it came, I have a series that I call my Boomers and Beyond Special Interest Group. And in beginning of 2014, Jan was part of it, and Carlene McKay, who's also, she's not with us, she lives in Hawaii right now, but
be a hard
co-producer,
trek
right,
over here to Chelmsford, Mass.
And Carlene and Jan really are the gurus, I think, of thinking about the mature worker. And Carlene had worked with an organization in San Diego called the San Diego Workforce Coalition, Mature Workers Coalition, and they developed this concept of this playbook. It's sort of like plays or stories like you have in sports. And so the idea emerged like, well, we could write a playbook, and it could be about ourselves, and it could be about some of our clients, and we talk about, you know, the situation, what the goals were, what the action steps were, what the consequences are, so that people have a sense of the strategies that you need in the 21st century. And many of the contributors are also members of the Life Planning Network, and so the Life Planning Network endorsed it, and people can get a copy of it at either boomersandbeyondsig.com.
Okay, so I'm going to slow that one down.
Oh, okay.
So it would be, somebody would type in on www.boomersandbeyond, S as in Sam,
G like girl, .com.
.com, okay.
Or
SIG stands for Special Interest
Special
Group.
Interest
So
Group.
That will help people remember.
Right, thank you. And also, or also at the lifeplanningnetwork.org.
Okay.
So both places.
Okay, great.
And so basically it's looking at how work has changed in the 21st century. Jan just sort of alluded to it, that there aren't jobs in the same way now that there were before, and so people have to have different strategies. They have to think about what are different ways to work. And we have examples of portfolio careers, of
And what does that mean,
virtual-
Dory, for the person who isn't sure what a portfolio career is?
Well, actually, the story in the career playbook is about me, because I define myself as working in a portfolio career, and it's really doing a combination of different things. I think you probably have a
I have
portfolio
one of
career.
those too.
Many people have it. So that I do some coaching. I also was trained as a therapist, so I do a little bit of therapy. I do speaking, I do writing, I teach, I do consulting, a little of this and a little of that. And what's so wonderful, I mean, I'm going to be 69, and
Well, you guys are
and I plan
impressive.
to keep working, because what's beautiful in the work I do is I can do more or less of the different areas. If I'm beginning to feel burnt out, I can do a little less. If I'm, feeling gung-ho and at my peak, I'll do more. It's one way of working, and there are other ways. There's franchises that people can have.
And what does that mean?
Do you want to talk a little about that?
A franchise is McDonald's is a franchise.
Right, that's what I'm familiar with. I wouldn't assume we would want to be
but
opening.
so are there temp services that
Exactly.
are franchises. Almost every business now, there's a model, and there's kind of a holding company, and there are guides, and you purchase the package, which may have to do with the signage and the process that is used, and perhaps some of the products that are sent out as a result of having that franchise. So you can buy into something that is already proven to be successful in other markets.
So are you saying I'm now...
Starbucks is a franchise.
Sure, and I shouldn't have asked the question
Yeah.
like I didn't understand the
Right.
basic concept. I'm trying to think of how, for our viewers, we can help them understand. So let's imagine for the moment, I've got the portfolio thing. That's, I do a little of this and a little of this and a little of this. If I'm now one of the viewers who's in this transition, and I'm starting to, either I'm retired fully or I'm in that process and thinking about it, and I think, okay, so what would I do about a franchise? Would it literally be that I think about a McDonald's, or
I think
is it
that maybe you'd want to go back a few steps there. What you might want to do is to think about where places that you would be interested in working with, because that matches your interests and your skills, and because perhaps you would be learning then the ropes and getting to be part of a network. There are various ways of trying it out. One process would be an internship. Perhaps you volunteer as an internship. And unfortunately now there are so many people who do it voluntarily and then never get the connection into the paid work. But that certainly is one way. Another way is like an apprentice, you know, simply to go and work for somebody. And a franchise is actually, I think of as a step you can buy into working with this process and then move from there to invent the next as an entrepreneur. Right. All of these things involve an entrepreneurial attitude, which is to say, so it's like looking, where's the pathway? Where's the match here between economic opportunity or social connection opportunity?
Yeah. And the story in the playbook about the franchise, which is interesting, is it was a couple who had a son who was unemployed, or a child that was unemployed. I can't remember in the moment if it was a son or a daughter. I think it was a son. And they ended up doing a lot of assessing and deciding this would be a good family business that they could do, because it was something that they could continue doing and work in, and it was something for the son. And part of what we have in the playbook, which I think makes it really valuable, is whoever contributed the story has a little bit about them, and actually the person who contributed that story has her email address and website, and she helps people think about establishing something like a franchise. So that's what we do in each of the stories. We have the contact person, so we encourage people to recognize they're just different ways to work.
Okay, so let's go backward then just for a second, because I'm not sure I helped you paint a really clear picture. So the career playbook, I looked at it so I have a sense of this, is a page of some one person's story about how they are living their work life right now, that might not be the same sort of template that we might have had in the 20th century. And there are variations on the theme, right?
Yes, they're personal stories, and they all respond to the same 4 questions, which Dory really mentioned. You know, what was the challenge? What was the what's the goal? What happened? What's the result? Etc. And have written a personal story, and they have come from many different directions.
Right. So for the reader, the reason I'm mentioning this, for the reader, this isn't a theoretical kind of book. When you go in, you're going to be kind of fly on the wall in somebody's experience who's sharing in a very, you know, personal kind of way. And you can get in touch with them.
Yes, exactly.
And it really ties into that more and more people, just as we were saying before, are thinking about what's next. And people sometimes want to work in a different way, maybe less, as Jan was saying, or to use their skills in a giving back way. One of the stories is about somebody who was a principal, and he ended up deciding it was, you know, he didn't want to do that anymore. But through his networking, through his contacts, he'd always been very interested in bullying, and he ended up being able to become a consultant and began to work in the school districts around bullying. So it became his encore career of giving back.
Right.
Where somebody else always wanted to do a B&B. And he and his wife did a lot of research about it, and he made a major transition, which included a move and, you know, setting it up, and, you know, kind of created this new way of working for themselves.
Right. And so again, I think it's important for people to know that working can be, as you said at the beginning of the show, Jan, work can be for pay, work can be not for pay.
Right.
And depending upon our particular circumstance, and that circumstance might change. There may be a time that you're working for not pay and decide, you know, the economy's changing, or my needs are changing, or I want to be able to give money to, or I need money for, and so you begin to look at how to earn money. So the giving back piece can be either paid or unpaid.
One of the stories is about a guy who lives in Hawaii who is an events coordinator. He puts on very large Porsche
Really posh events.
Posh events.
right, yeah.
Porsche's good, though. I can see how you got posh in there. The Porsche's driving up to the posh events.
Exactly. Most of them involve big flower arrangements.
Right.
So now he's developed a nonprofit connected with his for-profit, where all of these flowers are taken out by volunteers and to the assisted living facilities or the nursing homes or wherever. It's a process of being able to give back in connection with his for pay.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, that is so interesting. Do you know we have one of those locally?
Oh, really?
One of those organizations, the Power of Flowers. I think
great.
it's
That's
called.
neat.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
That's great.
It's nice to know it's happening a lot of
right.
places. So what you're saying is that there are all sorts of configurations here.
That's right.
And are there other things that we haven't yet said that seem important for the viewers to know about? And that could be anything from the stories. It could be something more about your book, Dory. There's actually, you did have another book. Should I?
Yep, that would be great.
So we don't forget, because we'll
We
run out
both
of
worked
time.
on that also.
You both worked on this
we
one.
did.
How many people did we
33.
involve? 33
33.
authors of Live Smart After 50, all of them who are professionals, part of our professional life planning network.
Right.
And some in financial planning, some in physical training, some in et cetera.
Wow.
And I think it's fabulous because what Dory has contributed, particularly are several excellent self-assessments. People who are approaching retirement age can absolutely need a copy of that book because they can make use of it themselves and take the assessments and get the answers, and there are people to call if you have questions.
So is it akin then to what we might do at a different phase of our lives with career planning, where we would take some assessments
Absolutely.
that this is, so can I?
But that's only one kind of planning. I mean, it's more holistic than that.
It's very
Yes.
holistic. Right.
So the Expert's Guide to Life Planning for Uncertain Times.
Right.
And those would be, Jane Pauley, who do you want to become now and how will you make it happen? Read Live Smart After 50. You may discover your answers. So this one is also available on the web or
On the web or Amazon.
Amazon.
The same with the other book that I co-wrote. It's available on Amazon.
Okay.
and
So this is a very different kind of book in some ways, right? These conversations that couples need to have.
And it's conversations couples need to have, but also, if you're not in a couple, it's conversations you need to have with whoever's important in your life. It's written because part of the way it's written, it focuses on communication, and it's also holistic, like Live Smart After 50.
And what does that mean, Dory, holistic?
Holistic means it's not just looking at finances, it's looking at the timing of retirement, what you want to do about retirement. It's looking at finances, health,
Housing.
where you want to live, spirituality, intimacy and romance, purpose and meaning.
Wow.
So that it takes in, all of that.
So the conversations you would need to have with those people who are important to you, which may mean first being able to look at what are those conversations and how do I get myself comfortable having them, because for some people money and emotion is pretty taboo, right? And very, yes, and very, right, the lightning rod, money being the...
And so now there's so much fear because of the uncertainty.
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, the uncertain times there, that's a big piece here.
Right.
So what I think is always the best route when you're uncertain is to talk to other people who are sharing the same situation.
Right.
And I think that that's the model that we're talking about, whether we're thinking about the career playbook. It's interesting to watch how other people who have problems or situations that you're facing what did they do?
Yeah, it's like a way to get to a support group without going to the support group, right?
So you don't feel so alone, and
Yeah.
you know other people are dealing with the same things. So the Life Planning Network is an important organization, I think, for people to
So anybody
know
can
about.
belong to that, or is that
Well,
experts? professionals group?
Right at the moment, it's an experts group. It's interdisciplinary. I always say that wrong. Interdisciplinary professionals. Started in this area in Boston, and there are chapters now around the country. But it's going through a metamorphosis, and it's going to do some more outreach, probably starting this coming year, so that professionals can join. But there are resources that people can find coaches through that, or financial planners through it, who specialize in the second half of life. So I think it's an important organization to be aware of. And the other one I wanted to mention is my own, which is Revolutionize Retirement. And I have, on the 4th Tuesday of each month, I have a free webinar. I have my Boomers and Beyond special interest group, which has been more for interdisciplinary professionals. But from that, I've met so many wonderful people, and I decided it was time to bring it to the public. And many people just don't have the finances, nor do they have access to some of these experts. So it's free. You just have to sign up on my website, and you're able to be part of it and get a recording.
And you can listen by phone or go through the computer,
internet.
either way.
Got it. So it's good that you're talking about this. I'd like to talk about it a little bit more because we're in the final few minutes of the show. So somebody would find out about the Tuesday calls or Boomers and Beyond by getting on your website. That's under your name. That's revolutionizeretirement.com.
Yep.
And so those calls, people learn about from different experts.
Exactly.
What?
So I've had financial planners, I've had different authors. Coming up this coming year, I'm having somebody who's just a wonderful role model who just won what's called the Purpose Prize, Encore.org, which is a great
another organization
to look at, gave prizes to people who are over 60 who've used their skills in a different way. And so I'll be interviewing one of the Purpose Prize winners. I'm interviewing an author who's written a book on retirement. I'm interviewing a financial planner who talks about some of the dark side of retirement. I'm interviewing a woman who really focuses on helping women think about the next part of life.
Got it.
And the listeners can submit questions.
Right, through the internet.
And by any chance, are those shows archived?
Yes.
Yes.
So if somebody doesn't listen on the day of the show, can our viewers go in to your website and they can listen to any of these shows now?
They can be in touch with me at dorianmincer.com.
Okay.
And they're available. And I encourage people to sign up for future ones, even if they can't be there live, because that way they'll automatically get the recording.
Okay. So let's be sure we say that again. So DORIAN, just like your first name, at your whole name, dorianmincer.com.
Yeah.
And we have 1 minute left, and let's make sure that we know, Jan, how you would want people to contact you and why they might.
I think that's too much for 1 minute.
Too much for 1 minute. We'll have to do a show
I have
separately.
one more thing to say about the Career Playbook. It is exclusively at this point online, and of course it's free. I take any reader should take the challenge. You have the 4 questions here. Try writing your own story.
Yeah.
And we're going to be trying to find a way to post those on Dory's blog so that we can share those with others.
Got it.
But I think that people can, this is, for you it's free, make use of it.
Right.
Great. So thanks. It would take more than 1 minute. So let's see what you might say. Would you like people to be contacting you, or are there resources?
I'd love it if they could look at my website, and that is passitonnetwork.org.
All right.
It's a global network.
Passitonnetwork.org.
We have, it's where program innovators share